Hello, welcome back to the Active Ingredient Podcast. I hope that you are doing great. We have a solo this week, and the theme of this week's episode is about transitions and when we are transitioning from either season to season or from chapter to chapter or from relationship to the next relationship, when we are in transitions, which we are all currently in, for sure, the at least transition of seasons, what that feels like and things that come up during the times of transition and how to sit with that, navigate through it. I'm currently going through yet another transition. I feel like I need a little break from transitions, if I'm being honest, because man, your girl has been transiting hardcore for the past few years. And I am going through yet another transition. And it feels really big and important. And I'm transitioning from a very beautiful chapter to another, which I feel in my gut will be another beautiful chapter. And I have historically had actually a really hard time with transition and change. I mean, shocker. Most people have a hard time with change and transitions, but I really wanted to do this episode because I was writing this morning and what came through was this concept of continuity and how maybe a lot of people resist that change because maybe we're looking at it so black and white of like, this is closed and you have no access to this version when that previous version had so many beautiful, amazing, expansive, delicious, some of the best experiences of your life type thing. So, of course, we want to cling and not want to transition out of that because it has so many beautiful things. And when I was writing this morning, what was coming through was that it's not so black and white. Like when we're transitioning from anything, we always have access in our bodies and in our spirits to tap into the feeling or the emotion or even the place or the person or whatever it was that you're coming from. You can always kind of like dip your toe back in or tap in or check in or go back to or whatever it is that you're transiting through. You always have access to be able to feel into. And I know that when I was writing this morning, what came up for me too was like, well, what about when people have transitioned literally like that they die, that their physical body is no longer here? Can you still access it? I believe that yes, I think that, yeah, physically, no. And I think that that's the thing that was coming through for me too, is that the form, the way in which you have been operating, the physical way in which you've been operating in this chapter is no longer going to be the same way that you're operating. However, the elements that were in the previous one, the elements of how you felt, or the things that you know felt so true to you and resonant to you, those are the things that you carry into the next one. And those are the things that become tattooed in your soul and spirit and just become part of who you are. And that honestly gave me a lot of solace this morning. I was like, that really helps because I think it's so much easier to transition from chapter to chapter if the previous chapter sucked. You know what I mean? Like if the previous one you were like, oh my God, get me out of here. I can't wait to try this new thing, go to this new place, be in this new environment, be with this new person. If the one before was freaking terrible, you know what I mean? But it's trickier when the one that you're in or that you're transitioning out of is beautiful. The same goes for seasons. Like when people are attached to summer, for example, it's like, yes, we're taking a lot of the energies and the things that we experienced during that time. What about them struck some chord in you? And that is inside of you. You can access it whenever it lives inside of you. And that's what I want to get better at, being able to identify when I'm feeling that longing or the ache for something from a time previous and see how I can sit with and tap into the feeling of that. And yeah, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but it's been feeling really for me because I am actually personally going through a very big transition, but I just think in general, we are collectively going through this massive, massive transition. And suffering really only comes from resisting. Anything that you're resisting into evolution, I guess, that's where the suffering comes through. And so I wanted to do this for myself and for anybody who is maybe resisting or having a really hard time letting go of the physical format of how something is, to see how you can transmute and move into a different way of relating to a previous thing that was great. And that's a humongous learning for me, because historically for me, and it depends, obviously every situation is different, but there have been certain things in my life that I feel like in order for me to move on to the next chapter, I've had to fully cut, block, very black and white, and I actually don't think that that serves me in this version of myself now. I feel like it's more in the in between, it's more in the gray. It's like, yeah, this way of how you've operated with this person, or this way of how you've been in this dynamic, or in this place, or in this working relationship, all of those things don't have to be cut and dry. Like, okay, if we're not going to do it this way, we're not going to do it at all. How can we, knowing where we're at now, what feels the most right and true, and just where we're at in all aspects, how can we still relate to things that feel true and resonant from previous versions, and reimagine what that can look like in this new, more expansive, more embodied, more present, grounded version, and be able to kind of like dance in and out of feelings from the past. And so I am working with those energies right now. And yeah, when I was writing this morning, I really was thinking about how that plays with actual death, because we're constantly, as we're alive, we're also constantly dying and being reborn, dying and being reborn, dying and being reborn, like in a constant cycle. And maybe there's eras in people's lives where it feels like that death and rebirth is happening way more. And I genuinely do feel like collectively we are kind of like in this container right now, in the last few years, and in this year, and probably going into next year. Like, it's going to be just this like constant purification, or like this constant fast evolution, I feel. And when thinking about it from like an actual death perspective, and maybe this is going really woo woo in this podcast, but whatever, I'm going to go with it. It's like, yes, the physical format of how you relate to something, or how you related to someone who was on this physical plane with you, is obviously not the same thing. Like, they're physically not here. You're not having that reciprocity in terms of conversation and physical touch and visually, and just like energetically at the level of a human energetic exchange. That's not there. And it's like, it's so interesting to me, because I'm like, it's not so cut and dry. It's just not. I think with absolutely anything that is true, it transitions, it evolves. Like, truth just will continue to evolve. Anything that is not true, I do think dies off. Like, I do think that like just disintegrates, dissolves, sheds, just kind of washes away, where things that are true continue to iterate. And that gives me so much peace. And so when I wrote that this morning and was really just like contemplating it, and I'm like, man, even with death, like even with actual death, it just transitions. And right now, when I was preparing to do the solo, I was thinking of one of the first episodes that I did this year, which was the title of the episode was Impermanence. And I did that right after the fires in California. And the concept of impermanence being something that is so cornerstone to so many Eastern traditions and religions, and how they contemplate death constantly as part of their practice. And that what the only thing that really is impermanent is the format. But if the energetics behind whatever it is that you're experiencing are true, they live inside of you, and you will always and constantly be able to be in connection to that on some level. I know that this may not be landing for some, but I do think that for most listening, something in here is landing. I hope, because it's kind of like not a new concept, because it's obviously, this is like an eternal concept, but it's been one that I come in and out of really like really believing, you know, I come in and out of it being or feeling so true. And then the human side comes through and you're like, oh, but I wish it was in this format that I remember and that it felt so good and that I loved this thing. And of course, we see everything from the past with rose colored glasses and we forget a lot of the other things that were there. But what remains, which is the truth, which is the light, which is the only thing that is real, that comes with you to every single new chapter. And you can rest in that assurance. Like that for me, I'm like, oh my God, that gives me so much peace. I can tap into that feeling of security. I could tap into that feeling of connection. I could check in with this person and see how they're doing, even if that way that we related is no longer the way that we relate now. I could travel to the place that I felt this level of depth and resonance and visit it again. Those things are available. And with an actual person that has passed, that feeling in your system and that connection to their spirit, if you're tapping into the energy of that person, even though physically it's not there, it's just a different way of relating. And so I'm just so much more open to I'm way more open now to just feeling into that because the little ways in which I've been open to feeling into that has just given me so much more peace in transitioning, which like I said, in the past, I've had a very hard transitioning out of very good things and maybe overstaying in certain situations or attaching too hard to things because there's so much goodness in them, even though they're not fully true and like the most true version of myself now. I have had in the past that attachment to things and people. And it does no one a service to try to cling on to versions that are just not today's version and the truth of where you're at currently. So as we are transitioning into winter and the seasons are changing, it's a physical representation of transition. I think that we can also kind of tap into that. How can we tap into for those who are experiencing actual winter? If you're missing the warmth of summer, how can you tap into the feeling, the energetics behind the warmth of summer? Is that sitting by a fire? Is that making yourself a soup? Is that going to a dance class? What are the things that can make you feel that feeling that you're trying to tap into and see how you can just kind of like play into that space for a second. So yeah, there's just like some freedom that it brings me to think of transitions being really just continuities. There's like remnants from the past that come into the present, and then the present situation will also leave remnants that are going into the future. And every time that we're evolving and transitioning, you're more and more in truth, you know, or in your current truth. And so that's all I have for you this week. I will be sharing more about what this transition is that I am moving through right now. It's a pretty big one for me. It feels really big and significant, and it's come with a lot of mixed emotions, and the leading one being exciting, which I think is also important. The thing that's leading me is that it feels so right, and so that is exciting, but it comes with a lot of just like discomfort and the feeling of uneasiness and sadness and just letting go, all the things that feel really uncomfy. Those things are very much here. And the leading thing is excitement. And I'll share more about what this transition that I'm talking about. I'm being very cryptic. I just don't really feel like going into it right now, but yeah, that is something that I am moving through. And for those watching on YouTube, this is the last time that you will see me in this background. As a little hint, the next background that you will be seeing will be different. And yeah, I am sending you so much love and remembrance and peace in that the true, exciting, fabulous, just the best versions of all the past things are with you right now, and they will continue to be with you in every single era and every single chapter. And it's just going to become more and more beautiful. The connection will be even stronger, and you will be more in your truth. So it's actually something to look forward to versus resist at all costs, which I have previously done. So with that, I am sending you so much love, and I will see you on the next one. Bye. Bye to this background.